I'm so excited to do this review today. I have in my hands 2 of the 3 newly released Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked palettes. They come out around this time each year with some stunning artwork. I only picked up 2. I picked up the Dragon palette and the Evil Eye palette. The third one I would have picked up except for these are $90 US or $122 Canadian. And although I would have loved all 3, I could only grab 2, and I grabbed the 2 that I thought would be better suited for my skin tone. The third one is a lotus. I'll put a photo of it over here so you can see it has got a much richer, deeper color story to it. But for now, these 2 will have to do. I will swatch for you. I will definitely do some comparisons to last year's palettes, just so you can see the differences if you already own the palettes from last year, if it's worth picking up the new ones. All right, I want to start with a Dragon palette and take a gander at this gorgeosity. It is so, so pretty. This is the lightest of the 3. Let's take a peek inside. So it does have a magnetic closure and a mirror which I was just about to say does not stand up on its own. So it kind of flops backwards, which is kind of annoying, especially for the price point. It was the same situation with the palettes last year. So that is definitely something that I would say would be a really great feature to add, especially when you're charging this much money for a cheek palette. Okay, there are 5 new shades in this palette. This one right here, top row, is the only pre-existing shade. It is a finishing powder. This one here is a gorgeous, gorgeous blush. Another finishing powder, but a new shade. And then in this row, we have another blush, a bronzer that's quite neutral because typically in these palettes, the bronzers tended to lean a little bit on the warm side, and a highlighter, an intense highlighter. So this is the Dragon palette. Let me swatch real quick for you. Okay, so this is the top row here, finishing powder, blush, finishing powder. And this is the second row, this blush that's calling my name. It's kind of mauvey, the bronzer, and the highlighter right here. So those are the swatches for the Dragon palette. I can't wait to get this on the face. Let's do that right now. Actually, no, I want to show you kind of a quick side-by-side comparison with last year's Jellyfish palette, which was the lightest one last year, and then we'll get more in depth in the comparisons. So this is what last year's Jellyfish palette looked like. Very, very cute. Love it. Well, jellyfish aren't that cute, are they? I got stung by one once. It wasn't cute. The Jellyfish over here looks a lot more pink. And in both, we still get 2 finishing powders, a bronzer, and 2 blushes, and a highlighter. So same sort of dispersion of the types of powders that you're getting in these palettes. Here they are swatched. This side is the Jellyfish from last year. This is the Dragon from this year. These are the 2 finishing powders. I can't see too much of a difference. It's quite subtle, except for like the Jellyfish ones are a little bit lighter on the lighter side. These are the bronzers. I hope you can see this Jellyfish bronzer is much warmer and kind of orange leaning compared to the Dragon for this year. These are the 2 blushes in the palettes. Very, very cool, kind of brighter type of pinks in Jellyfish. And in this year's Dragon palette, we have a more mauvey type blush and a more kind of corally leaning type of blush. So I hope you are able to see it. And then we have the highlighter. This is the Jellyfish highlighter, very white, right? Very, very light. The highlighter in this year's Dragon is much more champagne-y and right up my alley. One could say, just looking at this, that this would be kind of light for me. It would leave a cast, I think, but this one looks like it would work definitely. Although I love these blushes, beautiful, but they look very, very similar in my eyes. At least in this year's Dragon palette, there is a difference between the 2 blushes. One more corally, one more mauvey, and especially love that the bronzer is much more neutral and not as warm as last year. And the finishing powders, well, you can't go wrong with those. They are magical. We'll see these in action on the face right now. Okay, got the hair back, and we're going to start with the bronzer in the Dragon palette. I have a refer number 4 brush for this, and I can't wait to see how this bronzer looks on the face. This is looking very, very pretty. Darker than I thought it would be, especially this being the lightest palette, but I don't mind it at all. Looks gorgeous, gorgeous. It's much more neutral and a little bit deeper than last year's Jellyfish. Let's get it on the other cheek. That looks gorgeous. Loving it. I love it. I love it because it's so neutral. Get a little bit on my forehead as well. Bronze that up. This is a matte, but none of these are actually really ever matte. There's always a gorgeous sheen to these powders. Love, love, love the tone of this. Really, really nice. Gonna get my nose a little bit too, just bronze it up just a little bit. So here's the bronzer in the Dragon palette. I love it. If this one is this deep on me, I wonder how deep the Evil Eye palette's going to be. But we'll see. We'll find out soon enough. On this cheek, I think I want to try this blush right here called Mauve Haze. These are usually quite pigmented, so I'm going to tread lightly. And so I'm always drawn to mauvey type shades. The problem is they don't usually look great on me. I don't know why, just my undertone, I don't know. But this one, I'm even adding more. I am a subtle blush kind of girl. This one is giving me that beautiful color on my cheeks, but it is not too much. It is blending in beautifully with the bronzer. Who am I? I keep putting blush on. What's going on here? Okay, I'm gonna grab another refer number 5. Did I say? This is what refer number 5. And I'm gonna try the other blush on this side. For this cheek, I'm going to go into this corally blush that I love right here. What's it called? It's called Peach Fusion. Peach Fusion. Let's see what Peach Fusion says. I love me a peach. I love me a peach. I love that one too. Oh, I love them both. Okay, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. It would suck if I only liked one or none, right? All these kind of have like a beautiful sheen to them, and they just let your face glow, you know? They had a beautiful, subtle, gorgeous, just a beautiful, beautiful finish to the face. I want to take a closer look in my mirror. You know what I love? I love that they're different. I love that you can tell that this is a completely different blush shade than this one. This is definitely on the corally side. I'm in love with this one. I love it. And I also love this one because it's almost bronzy in a way, and it just fuses with the bronzer so beautifully. Okay, so Coral Lust, no, wait, I can't remember these names. Peach Fusion and Mauve Haze. Love them both. All right, I want to dip into the finishing powders. The finishing powders from Hourglass are amazing. I am still having a love affair with their Ambient Lighting Trio finishing powders. They look like this, and they're not setting powders. They are finishing powders. I've already set my face, my eyes with the Mario powder, but this is something that you can put as a last step, a finishing step, if you will, and it just adds a filter to your face. Literally a filter. It is magical and beautiful. I love it, and I have a backup. I bought a backup because I never want to be without these. I think I'm about to hit pan on these. I love them so much. There are 2 finishing powders. One is lighter, and the other one seems to have like a little bit of a peach to it. A little bit. It's a little bit creamier, deeper than this one, but not by much. Just has a little bit of a different tone to it. but I don't know if that'll translate on the face. I'm gonna try this one here. Just kind of fuse and melt everything together and add that glowiness to our face that's so subtle. And it just blurs everything, you know? Just soft around the edges. You can add it under your eyes too. And just, I think it just adds like a beautiful, beautiful filter to the face. It just finishes everything off, brings everything together. I hope you can see that on camera because I certainly can. I'm gonna flip over and use the lighter one. This one is a existing shade. This one that I put on this side is a new finishing powder shade. I'm going to just do the same on this side. You can put it all over your face. Usually with the trios, that's what I do. I just go to town all over my face, over everything that I've done. And it's magical. I don't know what's in it, but whatever it is, it works. The existing one, the lighter one, is undetectable on this side of my face, but the beigeier one, the slightly deeper one in the palette, I can see a little bit of a cast. I really can. So just keep that in mind. And the difference between them is so slight, but on the face, I can definitely see a difference for sure. There is a beiginess and a peachiness to the new finishing powder. This is the lighter one, the existing one. This one right here is a little bit darker. And like I said, I can see it on my face. So I'm not crazy about this one. I love this one, love it. There's one highlighter in here. These are Intenso, okay? So I got a fan brush, Refer 20, and I'm going to go lightly because I don't like a crazy highlighter. I like a subtle highlighter. And I'm going to tread lightly and see what we get. It can quickly go from subtle to not so subtle. So that's why I'm like, oh yeah, it's there. See? There it is. There she is. Yeah, so you got to be really, really careful. If you love outer space highlight, go to town. This is extremely gleaming. It's gleaming, but it's gorgeous. If this is the kind of look that you're wanting. I want to add the same highlighter on the side of the face that we have Peach Fusion on for blush, just to see if it looks any different. Because this is quite a champagne-y highlighter. I must inspect again. I must inspect. I'm going to get a little here too. Let me inspect. This is what I'm seeing. I think the highlighter works tonally with the peach one a little bit more or a little bit better than on the mauvey side. It's a little bit casty on the mauvey side. I don't know why. It's the same highlighter. I mean, it looks beautiful, don't get me wrong, but if I had to choose a side that was, you know, had the bronzer and the blush and the highlight and it all kind of worked in symphony, I would say this one is more. And I think the finishing powder has maybe something to do with it as well. It's affecting this side a little bit. Don't get me wrong, gorgeosity over here, but there's something off. All right, guys, so this is the Dragon palette, 2 different blushes, 2 different finishing powders, same bronzer and same highlighter. So what do we think? What are we thinking? Is this the palette for me, or do we think the Evil Eye will be better suited to my skin tone? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I can tell you this. I have a favorite. The favorite is that peach blush. That peach blush is just, it's something else. And I love the bronzer. I'm loving the bronzer, and I'm loving the neutrality of it. Now, this is what I'm going to do. Since peach is my favorite, I am going to take this off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the Jellyfish palette. I'm not going to be able to apply all of the shades, but I'm going to try and get as close as possible just so you guys can see if on the face there is a huge difference. We can tell by looking at the palette side by side that there definitely is a difference, but sometimes That doesn't necessarily translate on the face. So just in case you have the Jellyfish palette from last year, we're gonna do an on the face side-by-side comparison. So I'll be back, I'm gonna take this off and we can apply Jellyfish. All right, Miss Jellyfish, let's see what you got and see what we look like up against, not against, they're not fighting. It's not a contest. We just want to see the differences. Okay, Patrick Ta dual-ended brush, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, bronzing brush. Going into the one bronzer shade in the Jellyfish palette. So much warmer, much warmer. Not too warm that I don't like it, but in comparison, much warmer. And we saw that in the swatches as well, the arm swatches. Get a little bit up here. So I'm gonna place it where I placed it on the other side. Now I have to decide which of the two blushes I'm going to use. This one is Rose Fusion and this one's Diffused Heat. I think I'm gonna try and get both on. Let's just start off with Rose Fusion. I'm gonna go a little bit higher up. And right away, these are much more intense blushes. Like I could have told you that without, you know, just having used the Jellyfish from last year. I'm gonna flip my brush over, it's clean, and I'm gonna go into the Rosier Marble shade right here. And I'm going to just apply it to the apples of my cheeks very lightly. All right, so our blush is on. I think those two work beautifully together. I've never done that. I've only used one or the other. Okay, I'm gonna grab my Hourglass dual-ended brush. It's brushes galore all over here. It's crazy. I don't want to use the same brushes. And if I do, I'll definitely clean them before I do, because eventually I'm gonna run out. I mean, I have a lot of brushes, but not that many. As in the Dragon palette, there are two finishing powders right here and right here. One's lighter, one's a little bit like creamier, beigeier. Let's start with one and then I'll try the other one. I'm gonna start with a lighter one and just apply it. This one is a little bit light for me. Let's try using the darker one, the slightly deeper one. It's not darker. Kind of use it around here under my eye. Funny, because in this palette, I think I prefer the deeper one and not the lighter one. And it's the other way around with the Dragon palette. They're gorgeous, they're amazing, but there are slight tonal differences between the two. It's not like you're getting the same thing. They are different. Now we're gonna dig into the highlighter in the Jellyfish and just lightly place that on there. This one is marbled. As you can see, there's a marbling in there. Whereas the highlighter in the Dragon is not. Okay, again, quite in an intense highlighter. It's beautiful and it really does blend beautifully with the blushes. Now this isn't obviously a review of the Jellyfish. We just want to compare. Jellyfish, Dragon. I think the main differences, obviously, you are going to achieve from the blushes because it's the blushes that are the most different. This Mauvey one I thought was very, very close to this Mauvey one, but this one is a little bit more purpley, a little bit deeper, and this one is a little bit more neutral. Both beautiful and honestly different, like close enough, but they are different. And these two are wildly different. This is very, very pink, gorgeous, and it has the marbling. And this one has a little bit of marbling, very, very subtle, and it's peach. Peach you can't get in the Jellyfish palette. So if peach is your jam, the bronzer slightly warmer in the Jellyfish, more neutral in the Dragon. The finishing powders, they're finishing powders. I prefer one over the other in each of them. The highlighter, this is the highlighter in the Jellyfish. This is the highlighter in the Dragon. This one's marbled, this one's not. They're both extremely intense, as you can see. They're both beautiful. And even though they kind of look the same, they look the same on the face when all is said and done, I have to say the tone is different. The marbling gives a different kind of effect to the cheek, and I kind of love them both. This one is more golden, more champagne-y, right? And works really, really well, especially with this peach blush. I love it. So final conclusion, if I hadn't told you, that I had two palettes on, obviously the blush is a little bit different, okay? But if I hadn't told you, you really wouldn't have known at the end of the day. But for those of us who know, and for those of us who love these, I do think, especially because of the blush shades, you can't go wrong picking up the Dragon if you were a jellyfish last year. Okay, I'm going to take this all off and we'll start all over again with the Evil Eye. Okay, moving on to the Evil Eye. I love that the outer packaging matches the palette. I don't know, I kind of like that a lot. And I think it's a nice touch. And this is our beautiful Evil Eye palette. Now, I am Greek, and this is a big thing in our culture. Definitely believe in the evil eye and use it for protection to ward off any bad luck and any bad juju, you know, any bad vibes. It's a whole thing, okay? And if you're Greek, if you know, okay? And so when I saw this, I was very much drawn to it. And it's the one that's kind of right in the middle of the three palettes. It's the medium palette, and let's take a peek inside. So there is a jump in the depth of the palettes. Let me quickly, before I get into detail, I want you to see the Dragon next to the Evil Eye. So definitely a difference between the two. This one is much lighter, and the jump to the more medium is apparent. So that's nice to see. It's not more of the same, just a slightly bit darker. It actually is quite a bit darker, a little bit more rich, a little bit more intense, especially when I take a look at those blushes. Again, 5 new shades and 1 repeat. The finishing powder right here is the repeat. And then all of these are new. This one right here is the highlighter, 1 highlighter in the palette. This is a blush, this is a blush, and this is a blush. So 3 blushes versus 2 in the Dragon palette, and 1 bronzer. So that's this beauty right here. Let me quickly swatch these for you. Okay, so over here we have the top row. This is the finishing powder. This is the highlighter. Again, very intense. And the only blush in the first row right here. This is the second row, first blush. And to me, I don't know, I'm trying to get the angle so you guys can see. It looks like almost like a highlighter to me. Almost like a blush highlighter. And this is the next blush shade, and this is the bronze shade. That looks so beautiful. Again, let's see what this looks like on the face. How am I going to get 3 blushes on to show you? I'll figure it out. Oh, just a quick mention. Totally forgot to tell you that on my eyes today, I used the bronzer in my crease, and I use the highlighter on my lid, and that's all that I have on my eyes today. And I think it just looks stunning. So definitely these can be used on the eyes. There's no reason why you can't. And I really love the way that it looks. And also I forgot to mention for foundation, I'm wearing the Huda Beauty Easy Blur in 240 Toasted Coconut for both throughout this video. This is what I have been wearing, and I've set with the new Mario Loose Powder. Okay, let's get into comparing last year's medium palette. This is the Leopard palette. Let me show you the Leopard palette next to the Evil Eye palette. Oh, this is the Leopard palette, and this right here is the Evil Eye palette. This one, to me, looks a lot more similar than the Dragon did to the Jellyfish. But again, we never know until we get it on the face. I'm going to quickly do a side-by-side swatch comparison of these as I did with the other ones. The Evil Eye on this side and last year's Leopard on this side. Top here are the finishing powders. You can barely see them, which is a very good thing. You don't want to see them. Next are the highlighter shades. They look pretty similar, except for the Evil Eye has a little bit of a bronziness to it, whereas the Leopard has more of a, I would say, more of a soft pink to it. And the Evil Eye has a little bit of a marbling to it. in the pan. Then moving on to the three blushes, they look quite similar, but the one in the Leopard has a marbling in it, which is why it looks a little bit more diffused, and the Evil Eye looks a little bit more intense because it doesn't have any marbling in it. Next is this, I think it's called Oasis Glow or something for the blush. I'll let you know the shades, but this is the next blush and the one that is very, very much different from anything that we find in the Leopard palette. This one looks just so gorgeous. I can't wait to try that one. Oh, I bet you it's going to look amazing. This kind of blush is just, it calls my name. And then we move on to the next blush and they look very, very similar. I don't know if you can see that, even though the Evil Eye palette looks really, really much brighter in the pan. When you swatch them, they look pretty, pretty close. And then again, here we are with the one bronzer in the palette. The Evil Eye is much cooler, more contoury, dare I say, versus the Leopard, which is warmer than the Evil Eye. All right, so those are our, I don't know why I was blocking my face like this. I could have done it like that. Live and learn, live and learn. Anyway, you get the idea, right? Look at those highlighters. This is crazy. But yeah, a lot more marbly shades in the Leopard from last year and none really in the Evil Eye other than the highlighter shade has a slight marbling to it. Everything else does not. In comparison to the Leopard, there's marbling in this blush and in this blush. So back to the Evil Eye, we're gonna get this one on the face. We will dip into the bronzer. I've cleaned off my brushes, so they are clean, so there's no transfer of pigment from one palette to the other. And we'll see what this bronzer is like. Oh, I like it. It looks much deeper in the pan than the Dragon palette. The effect is not much different on my face, except this is a little bit cooler, But as deep as it looks in the pan, I can pull it off, I think. You can say you love the palette of the Evil Eye, but you don't like the Evil Eye packaging. It freaks you out for some reason. I hear a lot of people saying that. They don't like this. I love it. It's probably because I grew up with it. But anyway, so you can choose the cover art with the palette that you like. What you cannot do is pick and choose shades from each palette. So it's not like you can curate your own palette on the inside. It's either the Dragon color story, the Evil Eye color story, or the Lotus color story with whatever outer packaging you like. You have that option on the Hourglass website. I will link these in the description box. I'll leave a link in the comments as well. I don't have a code for Hourglass yet. I will. I'm sure you watch a whole bunch of people on here, and if you do use one of their codes, I'm sure they have codes that you can use, and if you can, you know, save a few bucks and help a creator out, that's awesome. So it's a win-win. But you can use the link that I leave below and just use someone else's code to get a discount at checkout. Okay, I think I really, 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 really love this bronzer shade a lot. I'm dying to try this blush right here, Oasis Glow. It looks very highlighter-y, very, very highlighter-y. And it is. I have to take a closer look. Okay, no, you would not need, unless you really wanted to, a highlighter with this. It is a very highlighty blush. The blush shade, though, just blends so beautifully in with the bronzer. I shouldn't put more on because I don't need more, but it's gorgeous. Is it emphasizing? I need the mirror from Hal. Hang on, I need to see what it's doing right here. It's fine in my pore area right here. It's not doing anything crazy. If you over apply, you run the risk of doing that. I can see it maybe happening by accident. Okay, so that's Oasis Glow. Which one are we gonna do? I think I'm gonna combine these two. I'm gonna start with this one since it's a little bit lighter than this one. I don't want to put this one on first and then go in with this one and not be able to see it or have it be overshadowed or overpowered by this one. So I'm going to start with this one and we'll see what happens. This one is called Pink Fusion. It's not as scary as it looks in the pan to me. Oh, I love that. That is so pretty. This one much more on the neutral side with the glow, and this one we're back to pink. Even though it's kind of purpley in the pan, for sure, it looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. I'm gonna flip my brush over and I'm gonna go into this one right here. What's it called? Middle bottom row, vibrant coral, but it doesn't look corally to me at all. It looks pink to me, but who am I? I think I'm going to just go a little bit higher up with this one and see how they look combined. Those blend so beautifully together. They really do. Are they very much different? I need to swatch again. I need to swatch. This is the top row. This is the bottom middle. Even though this looks so vibrant and this is more mauvey, honestly, it looks like I have just one blush on. And I kept it up here. And it's blending in seamlessly from this part all the way up here. And so these, from what I can see right now, are two blushes that can be used interchangeably in my opinion. But if you love these shades, then that's okay. You got double the fun. It's killing me though. Do you see how different they look in the pan? They really, really do. I don't know if my eyes are deceiving me. Are my eyes deceiving me? I don't think so. Anyway, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, I'm just gonna use the finishing powder real quick on both sides. Just add that filter to our face. See how everything just kind of gets diffused almost? I can't say enough amazing things about these finishing powders. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but they're mine. This shade in the Evil Eye, the one finishing powder that's in here, it's perfect for me. Just bringing everything together and it's beautiful. Love. All right, all we have left now is the highlighter, which is the only marbled shade in the Evil Eye palette. All of the highlighters are intense and this one is no exception. I think this Evil Eye palette is the one that's closest to suiting my skin tone the best. Not that the Dragon palette doesn't work. It does work. I can use it. I love the blushes, but when it comes to the finishing powder, the bronzer, and the highlight, I think this one has my name on it for my skin tone. So if we're twinsies, keep that in mind. Again, not to say that Dragon doesn't work. Those blushes in the Dragon palette, my goodness, love. Okay, love these too, don't get me wrong. Just like with the Dragon palette, if you don't like beaming highlight, be careful with these. However, it is, I mentioned, on my lids. So if you don't like it on your cheekbones, then you can definitely make use of it as a shadow, for sure. Okay, everybody, so this is the Evil Eye palette. This is the same bronzer, the same finishing powder, the same highlighter. Differences, the blushes. This one is the Oasis Glow. You really do not need a highlighter when you use that glowy blush. This side looks extra highlighty, extra glowy because the highlighter is on top of that glowy blush. A little bit of a difference on this side, but both I love. So now it's that time where I'm going to compare the Evil Eye palette to last year's Leopard palette. Not sure which side I'm going to remove. I'm going to have to inspect the Leopard and see what will make the most sense because I only have one face, two cheeks, you know, and there are 3 blushes in these, right? So let me take a look. I'll figure it out. I'll come back with one of these sides gone and we'll get to applying the Leopard palette. I took off this side that had the Oasis Glow, the glowy blush, because it had the highlighter on top of it. I don't think it would have been a fair comparison to the Leopard palette. Plus, these are much more pinky shades that might be very close to the Evil Eye palette blushes, the pinky ones. Blank canvas, and I'm going to start with the bronzer. The Leopard bronzer, again, much lighter, warmer. Then the Evil Eye, Still looks pretty though, but you can see that warmth. You can see that warmth coming through, but that's not a bad thing. It's just different. Now we're going to move on to the blushes. And to be fair, I'm going to start with this one right here, bottom middle, and then I will add on top this one that has the marbling. Let's get going on this blush. This one is quite intense, much more intense than I found the Evil Eye one. The Evil Eye one looked really intense, but didn't apply as pigmented as this right now. Flipping over, okay? And I'm gonna go into the other pink blush with the marble, and I'm just going to apply it back here. And this one has a little bit more of a sheen to it. And we are in clown territory. Oh, we sure are. I don't remember it being, do I remember it being this intense? And because I haven't used it in a while and I can't remember if I had that issue. Well, it's there, it's an issue for me. So let's dip into the finishing powder so that we can diffuse this a little bit because it's a little much for me. It's a little much. But if you like a nice intense blush, then I'm also quite tired right now. And I don't know if my application was the best. You know what I'm saying? The finishing powder is really, really helping to diffuse that brightness. As you can see, it's pretty though, right? It is, right? I think it is. I got so scared there for a second. All right, let's get to the highlighter and highlight these cheekbones. Again, quite intense. Really pretty though. Very pretty. Very nice. So the only thing I didn't use is this Mauvey Marbly blush right here. Let's see. Can we see a difference? This is the Leopard with the two pink blushes. And this is the Evil Eye with the two pink-ish. One's more mauvey, but two pinkish blushes. Can you tell that I have two palettes on? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what I think after I inspect in the mirror. 1 second. First of all, they both look lovely. And, you know, I'm not surprised about that at all. The blushes seem much more similar than the difference in the blushes in the Dragon and the Jellyfish, for sure. Much closer in terms of the blushes. Between these two, though, again, the blush is a little bit more intense on this side, but when I look at it overall, I don't necessarily get like a wildly different look on this side. It all kind of looks the same. The differences are pretty subtle, I would say. Pretty subtle. So this is the Leopard and this is the Evil Eye. My eye is drawn to this one, even though they're quite similar. This light mauvey shade is the biggest difference, I would say. And what's unique about the Evil Eye palette over here is that glowy blush shade, that Oasis Glow right here. This one that you do not need a highlighter with. It is quite unique. It is quite different from any blush, either in the Jellyfish or the Leopard or the Dragon palette. I have to take a nap. Oh my goodness. I'm starting to forget the names of the palettes. Okay. The highlighter, I don't see a difference at all. I really don't. The finishing powder, don't see much of a difference at all. The one in the Leopard palette is a little bit lighter, and this one's a little bit on the beigeier side, I would say. I hope that that makes sense, and I really hope that this comparison is helpful. If you have this one, fantastical. Do you get something different in this one? You do in this shade. And the fact that the bronzer is cooler and deeper. Other than that, you kind of get the same effect. One last look at the palettes. This is the Evil Eye and this is the Dragon palette. I love them both. I love them both. I think this one suits me a little bit more, especially with a finishing powder. I think the finishing powders in this one are a little bit, maybe a little bit too light for me, but what I adore in the Dragon palette are the blushes. The blushes are everything. This one, I love the bronzer. I love the blushes too. They are gorgeous. The blush here though, the highlighty one, proceed with caution and just know that that's what you're getting in this palette. But both are beauties and I do not regret picking both of them up. And I really hope that me applying all these and comparing them today is helpful in making your decision if you were thinking about picking these palettes up. 1, 2, 3, I don't know. I love that we have 5 new shades in each of the palettes. Last year's palettes, there were a lot of repeats in them. And so finally we have brand new shades to play with. And they didn't disappoint. They really didn't. I personally love the packaging. I've heard some rumblings about people not necessarily liking the packaging. They prefer the animal themes, even though this one is, but the other two, Lotus Flower and the Evil Eye, are not. This one, listen, I love it. I can't not love it. This one is stunning as well. So there's something about the packaging, the whole experience of owning one of these palettes. They're special. They really are special. And I'm really, really happy with them. Very, very happy with them. I also love that, as in the past palettes, they are versatile too. You can use them as shadow as well, as you can see today. Very cool. Very happy with these. That is it. That is all for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found the comparison of this year's light and medium palettes compared to last year's light and medium palettes helpful, just in case you're on the fence and you're wondering, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Are they different enough that I would invest that much money in a palette? Because they are pricey, right? So I really hope that that helped. Please let me know if it did. Also, please let me know if you've picked these up already and what you think about them. Also, please let me know if you're thinking about picking them up. I want to know all your thoughts down below. I love reading your comments. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. That would be amazing. Hit the bell button too so that you're notified every time I do post a video, and the thumbs up if you like this video. That really helps my channel out. Again, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye.